And this imposter syndrome. Am I as good as that creator? Am I as good a singer as this person? Am I as good a performer as that person? Do I look good in whatever as this one does? Do I moat enough when I sing? Do I, all of those, we can get in our heads about comparing ourselves to others instead of recognizing that we are our own unique niche. And I have these talks sometimes with other creators. I'm like, your niche is you, really. Because there are tons and tons and tons and tons of people who do what I do, create beauty and style content, creators over 50, all of those things, but no one does it quite the way I do.
Hey, welcome to the Monique on the Mic podcast. I am your host, Monique B. Thomas, and this is episode 26. This is kind of a big episode for me because there's 52 weeks in a year, and if you do the math, that means half the year has gone since I started podcasting. So I've done this for 6 months, and I don't think I want to stop. I think I really enjoy the conversations that have been had on here, and I want to do so much more. I hope that you're enjoying it, and I want to thank you all for listening and for taking the time to share this podcast with your friends and family. So today's guest represents a part of my evolution as a podcaster, as somebody putting themselves out there on the internet, because she's a rather huge personality on the net. She's blown up on all the major platforms, and she does not know me from a can of paint. And I reached out to her and asked her to be on my podcast, and she said, sure, why not? And so just sort of to remind you that you've got to shoot your shot because you never know who's going to say yes. But if you don't shoot your shot, it's always going to be no. So the guest is an incredible content creator, coach, and internet sensation. Her name is Jen Polt, and we're going to be talking about authenticity. Oh, by the way, just an exclaimer. This is an explicit episode. So, because we're dropping F-bombs and all kinds of other dirty language because we just get down and dirty because that's how we do because we're both from Jersey. So if you got kids, you want to put your headphones on or send them to another room because we're getting real in here. Please, everybody, give a warm welcome to the fabulous Jen Polt. Yay, Jen, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Monique?
You want the truth or you want the truth? I'm great now that I'm talking to you because you generate a type of excitement. You know, I saw in your bio that you're like the BFF, and that's no lie. That's no hype. As soon as I found you on Instagram, I thought, I want to know this person. Like I already felt like I knew you, and obviously we don't know you. We know what you show to us, but what you do show to us is so endearing. Like there's so much beauty in just being who you are. And I feel like watching you go through that process of being who you are, which is, if I can say, over 50, obviously. And that is so inspiring to, women because, women everywhere were under attack.
Yes.
And so seeing someone stand up in their beautiful power and just become even more beautiful with each age, that is very, very inspiring. And so one of the reasons I wanted you to come on here is because you're creative, but also the facet of being a creative at an older age, And so I want to talk about, I know you came from a career in sales.
Yeah.
But have you always been creative, would you say?
I think I've always had I always call it like a poet's heart. I always felt like I was a word nerd as a kid. I was always into writing and reading and creative in those aspects. I didn't feel like I was creative in the, styling thing or the, my self-expression probably until I got older. But there was always that kind of creative brain of, ooh, that looks like fun. I want to try that. And I want to try this. That squirrel brain, I call it, where you're like, ooh, shiny object. So
nice.
I think I've always had that kind of creative, wanted to create in different ways. I'd be a bit crafty on things. I'd write some stuff. I would, was always kind of with my fingers in different creative types of endeavors. So I think, that lent itself to a career and into exploring education as a career. And that's what I did for a while. I went to school to be a teacher.
Okay.
And I got an education degree and I was a high school teacher for a while. And then I turned that into a sales career, which is so much of sales is education anyway. And so
Okay.
it all just manifested itself to where I am now.
That's a great story. I would have loved to have had Miss Polt as a teacher.
Yeah,
You know,
that was kind of, it was what we always laugh still call them my kids, even though they're in their 40s. I mean, my kids and I
right.
always laugh that I was, the teacher that was probably one of the most beloved, but also one of the most feared. And, which
Yeah.
always makes me laugh because, I never thought of myself as scary, but apparently I had some intensity around my management of them. And so, they always like to tease me that, they were a little scared shitless of me, but also loved me.
I could understand that because it seems to me that people who are passionate about what they do and clear about what they do
Mhm.
do tend to be, I wouldn't say it's not overbearing, but for people who aren't clear, it can come off as overbearing,
Yeah,
and people don't sort of know how to deal with that.
yeah.
And you seem to be very, very clear about things. Have you always been that way?
I think, yeah, I think for the most part, I've always had a pretty firm understanding of who I was and what my boundaries were and what I would and would not accept. Certainly we've all
Mm.
had those moments of feeling like, I should have seen that coming, or I could have, set up some firmer boundaries there or whatever. But I think I've always been pretty good about trusting my inner voice when I make decisions and
Mhm.
when I kind of set my sights on something. So yeah, I mean, clarity, although elusive from time to time, I think I've had for the most part.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, would you say that this clarity and you talked earlier about the squirrel mind.
Yeah.
Would you call it curiosity?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm one of those people like, "Oh, I wanna learn how to make jewelry," and then I go and buy all the gear to make jewelry, and then I make jewelry for a few years, and then I still have all the gear piled up in a corner someplace, or like, "Oh, I think I wanna learn how to play a certain instrument," and then you go out and you buy one, and you just it's all of that kind of, "Ooh, that looks like fun," and then try it, and, so that's always been it's, something that both makes me laugh and embarrasses me a little bit because I have a lot of unfinished projects in my life because I constantly get turned on by some kind of new learning. And then I'm like, okay, well, then I get over that and I leave it at the wayside.
But you know what? I love that. First of all, I love it because I realize that I actually do have a sister from another mister in it. I have crocheting projects.
Yeah.
I have a huge bag of just all this crochet stuff and I was
Yeah.
making earrings and I've got all this gear and all this other stuff. I've got all these books of things I want to read because I want to learn how to do it
Yep.
and it's not done,
Right.
But when I get turned on by it, and I love that you said turned on and it doesn't mean anything sexual. Um it feels really passionate. I feel
Yeah.
like this might be the next thing for me, and it
100%.
is for a time.
Yeah. It is.
Just not necessarily all of the time. That is so exciting. Is it also you said, you always had a sense of clear boundaries. Is it because you're a Jersey girl?
I mean, it could be. It could be. They raise us
Because
up in them streets of Jersey.
in them streets, look, I was going to ask you at the top of this interview, is this going to be an explicit interview? Because I want you to be able to express yourself however you want. So if it has to be, I'll just put an E on it. It,
I
it
mean,
doesn't have to be, but if
you may just want to preemptively tell everyone there may be an F bomb or two. She can't, she
okay,
can't help herself sometimes. I'll do my best.
no, it's all good. No, it's all good. If I have to put an E on, I'll put an E in, and just people have to put their kids in a corner somewhere, put some headphones on, because we got to do what we got to do.
That's right. I
So
me.
you got to be you, and that's the beautiful thing about it. But I'm trying to figure out at what age did you start to embrace getting older?
Mm. I would say probably mid 40s. It
Mhm,
started to. I think I started to just kind of get to a place of resolve with who I was, what I was
mhm,
about, what was important to me, what my
mhm,
kind of core values were as a person, how I wanted to be known, recognized, and seen. Um,
mhm,
and I think, especially as I approached 50, I started to really kind of take note of things that were being said about women my age and sorry, and the messaging that we were getting about kind of dialing it back was really pissing me off. Because I felt like in our 20s and 30s as young women, we're encouraged, right? We're like, you go get that job and you ask for that promotion and you go get that raise and you go after your dreams and you do those things and you travel while you're young and you do, and you get all this messaging of like, go get it, go get it, go get it. And then you finally start to get it. And everyone's like,
Mhm.
okay, that's good. Dial it back, quiet down. Not so much from you. And
Yeah.
it's so counterintuitive when you spend decades trying to get to a place where you feel really self-assured and powerful,
Right.
to have someone
Yeah.
now and society kind of giving you messages of, okay, well, you're too old now, so you just back that off. And I'm like,
Yeah. Go bake a pie.
yeah, I'm like, fuck that.
Okay, there we go.
You told me I could.
So
I'd let it rip.
all you needed was you just needed permission. And I gave it to you because I got a potty mouth too.
You told me
I got a potty mouth too.
So now I'm gonna let them fly. So yeah,
All right.
but I think that is exactly how I felt. I was like, absolutely not. That is not the
Yeah.
messaging that I want to hear. And it's certainly not the messaging that I want to put out in the world. So I think especially once I turned 50, there was that feeling of, oh, hell no, that's not what I'm subscribing.
Yeah. 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 No, I can totally get with it. But I would even say that even though we were encouraged, I felt like there's an enormous amount of stipulations on the encouragement. Because he was like, yeah, go to school, get that job, but you still got to have kids and you still got to take care of your husband and cook and do this and that and other and don't outshine your husband, that kind of thing.
No.
So it's like shine, but just not too brightly.
Yeah. And I felt a lot of that myself. I mean, I never had children and that was by choice. There was a lot of clutch the pearls reactions from other women when I would express my non-desire to have children, and a lot of conversations around how I wouldn't have a fulfilling life or like my sense of purpose, or I'll never know love like the love you have for a child. Okay. I think I have a lot of love in my life, and I'm actually really damn happy at 50, almost 3 years old, with the life I've created without having children. And I think there are those messages that we get that we're encouraged to chase our dreams, but also encouraged to kind of be stereotypical and not too powerful. And to your point, not outshine your partner, not stand out, let them still, be one step ahead of you. And honestly, I think that was, part of what I struggled in with my previous marriage, was just that kind of that power struggle of allowing me to be in my full power.
So since you brought it up, can I ask you feel like just, as you came into your own, that became an issue in the relationship?
I think it made me less tolerant of the notion of
bullshit.
What's that?
Of bullshit? I said of bullshit.
Yeah, it made and just less tolerant of the notion of having to dial it back for anybody. And I just felt like, hey, I'm willing to meet and accept you for who you are. And, but I'm kind of being given messages to kind of dial it back. And I just didn't feel like there was, I didn't want to do that to myself anymore. You get to a place of feeling you're most powerful, and you just don't want anyone to throw a blanket on that.
Yeah. And getting to that place of feeling you're most powerful is such a long journey. It's like when you get to that shining place, because you're allowing yourself to shine despite whatever your struggles have been, despite if you have cellulite, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. And then have somebody say, well, now you can turn it down. It's like, no, I've been flexing this muscle of learning how to just love myself the way I am.
Yeah.
I can't tone this down. What you can do is put some shades on. What you can do is remove yourself. You can remove yourself from the room.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to play small just because you feel small.
Yeah. And it was exactly how I felt. I mean, there just got to be a point where I was like, well, that's not going to be my journey in this life. I didn't work this hard to get to a place of self-love, only to have someone who's supposed to love me tell me that version of me is not lovable. So, I mean, I'm not someone who goes in as a bulldozer and just expects everyone to get on board with who I am. I'm very mindful of how I walk through the world, but at the same time, I'm cool with me. And so if you're not
Yeah.
cool with me, that's fine. You don't need to be in the room.
Yeah. I always say, this is a saying that I have, if I can't be myself around you, you can't be around me.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I think that's
It's
it
just,
in a nutshell.
that's really what it is. But so how did you turn this part of yourself, so learning to love yourself, accept yourself for who you are and where you are in your life, into a creative thing? Because we could go through that journey and not decide to put it on social media. So how did
Yeah.
that happen?
So that happened as like a fluke, really. It was during COVID, during lockdown. I was looking for a creative outlet. I was
Mm-hmm.
longing to connect with people. I felt a real challenge with being home. The first couple of weeks was fun. I was like, woohoo, I can just binge watch TV and make cinnamon rolls. This is amazing. And then after that wore off and I wasn't talking to people and interacting with people, I felt a real sense of loss. And so I started just on social media, on different Facebook groups, and interacting with women who were my age. And we're talking about, beauty and style and doing funny, outfit challenges and things like that, just as a means of just being creative and having fun since we weren't going out anywhere. Like, let's get dressed at
Right.
home and like share our outfits and whatever. And so I started to create some content, and that content was well received. And I had a beauty background for the last 10 years, but I started in beauty in the late 90s. And so I thought, well, I'll do
Okay.
some beauty tutorials and I'll talk about that. And then I was
Mhm.
also just throwing in some style things, because I too was kind of morphing my own style around 50.
Right.
I'd come from
Okay.
like, an industry where I had to wear black all the time and head to toe black. And I had an entire wall in my closet that was black, and there wasn't a whole lot of room for creativity in that. And then I wound up in a position where I could dress exactly how I wanted to. And I was like, okay, what's that going to look like now? My body's a little different, and how do I want to express myself in this chapter? And so I started to, embrace that piece too. And so it took off, and there was questions around, do you have an Instagram? And I was like, yeah, maybe I'll start an Instagram. And so I started to post it to Instagram. And then a couple years later, I had a couple of viral moments, and I went from 3,000 followers. And by the 9 months later, I had 100,000 followers. And
Wow.
it's not something I saw coming, but I was very intentional about who I was creating for. I wanted to create my generation and older, because I felt like we were underserved in that kind of content creator sphere. And I felt like the ones who were making content, who were in my demographic, it all felt very professional, and it all felt very dull to me. And I was like, where's the homegirl? Like, where's your like best friend who's an influence? Like, it didn't feel that way to me. And I thought, maybe this is the thing that I can bring to this space. I can bring that. I'm your foul mouthed friend who will be completely honest with you and tell you that you and I both know that you can barely wash your face at night. So what makes you think you're going to do 10-step Korean skincare routine? I mean, there's things you can say to your friends like, girl, get a grip. And so I thought, if I approach what I do in the ways that I approach my girlfriends, and I film from my bedroom, and I do things, that feel more kind of, informal, and not so I'm in my studio doing my makeup. I'm in my room, and sometimes there's laundry on the floor, and it is what it is. It's how I live. I'm not in a restoration hardware catalog. I have a life, and it's messy sometimes. A creative brain is not necessarily a clean brain. And so,
Well, thank you for telling me that, because Lord, if you just look at the number of windows I got open on my computer, that tells you what my brain looks like.
100%.
And
Exactly.
I'm learning to accept that's just, I don't know if that means I have ADHD.
I know. I've been doing the same thing, and I think it's just gotten
like,
worse with this whole time of life change and all of the things. Like it's like exacerbating all of these things for me, and I'm like, yo.
Yeah, we got to get a grip on it. But at the same time, what your creative messiness, it doesn't look messy at all. In fact, I've never noticed anything on your floors. Everything looks beautifully placed, and everything always is very clear and concise and so fun.
Oh,
That's what I
thanks.
always liked about you. Oh no, I mean, this is just observations. It always looks like, you know exactly what you're going to be posting. I mean, you can tell that there's a lot of preparation that goes into what you do. It's not haphazard. It's very, very clear. And it's just always so fun. It's the outfit of the day. I mean, every time I see her, I'm like, let me see what she's talking about today.
Thanks.
you know?
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, I think it's, I think the thing that I did, and I think that anyone should do if they want to, delve into this. I just had a conversation not 20 minutes ago with a dear friend who's considering this as an option for her. And I was like, just show up as yourself, as your true authentic self, because then the quickest way to burn out in a role like this is to show up as someone that you think you're supposed to be instead of exactly who you are. And having to put on that persona every day is exhausting. I mean, it's exhausting enough some days for me to just show up as me, much less show up as, a version of me that isn't quite authentic. And so I've done exactly what you've said. I've just tried to be my silly, shameless, sometimes foul-mouthed self and bring style and fashion and confidence content to women and have that conversation around confidence in midlife and pivoting in midlife and what that looks like to them, in a way that feels like they're talking to a trusted friend instead of, I'm going to tell you how you should dress now that you're 50.
Yeah. Yeah. I think your message really resonates because we do, as women, we need to hear that. I mean, we honestly, as people, everybody goes through some sort of acceptance. But as we know, women are heavily under attack, whether it's the pimples on our face, the cellulite on our butts, the size that we're wearing. And, we should be, suck this in, pull this up. It's like, ugh. The things that are falling on me are falling because they've been there for a long ass time.
Exactly. It's the shaming epidemic, I think, for women. We're shamed if you have children and you don't go back to work, you're shamed for that because you're not driven. If you go back to work, then you're shamed because you're not a good mother. And then you're shamed if, you don't have children, and you're shamed if, you decide that you want to take care of your body at 50. You're shamed if you talk about your business, even though you're an entrepreneur. It's like this constant thing of just wanting.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, just kind of be in some box. And I wanted women to feel more limitless in how they approached everything. Like if you want to wear sequins to Target, wear sequins to Target. Like, who gives a shit? Do you love it? I mean, it's these conversations when I do consults with people and they're like, well, this and that. And I'm too old to wear, and too old. Is this too old for me? Is this, and I'm like, the only question is, do you love it?
Yeah.
Period. They're like, yeah, but am I too old to wear a miniskirt? I'm like, do you love it?
Right.
Like, it's just trying to get women centered in their inner voice of, do I love this? Do I need my husband's approval to wear this? Like, no, you don't. Do you love it? Period.
Yeah. Yeah. If we could go back to, being authentic.
Yeah.
I think being inauthentic is a slow killer. I feel like the moments when I've been inauthentic, I was slowly just putting a dagger into my soul.
Yeah.
And killing myself little by little, just piece by piece. And then the moments when you are authentic, it gives life. It's life-giving, which is why people who actually, they can't get on board with that because they haven't yet accepted themselves. That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think it's a problem for them.
Yeah, the authenticity thing is hard sometimes for people to really lean into who they are, because a lot of times people don't know exactly who they are, or they haven't been given the freedom to be exactly who they are. And they've felt like they've had to style flex and, change their tone and how they walk through the world because of the environment that they're in. And I would imagine that you have felt that, in all of the audiences that you've been a part of.
All the time.
All the rooms that you walk into, this feeling of like having to switch gears and style flex and, code switch depending on where you're at. And I think we all do it in some way. And
it's tiresome.
Yeah. I mean, I had a very, I had a big corporate position at a company that was very conservative, and I was still the one swearing at the conferences. I mean, it's just, and there was a lot of I can't believe she swear, and I'm like, you know what? It's just a word.
Get the fuck over it.
Exactly. It's just a word, and like, breathe. This is who I am. This is how I approach things, and this is how I get stuff done because I show up this way wherever I go now. I'm authentically myself, and it's a challenge when you have to keep kind of switching those gears.
Yeah, it does. It grinds you, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
As a singer, as a female singer, there's dynamics with that, because people often consider singers as sex symbols.
Yeah.
So, I have to look a certain way. I have to dress a certain way. But if I do dress a certain way, if I dress a little too sexy, then I'm just a sex kitten. People are going to overlook the actual talent that I bring to the table.
Right.
And of course, they're going to talk down to me. And when I do ask for the money that I feel I deserve, then I'm a bitch.
Oh,
It's like, no, I can simultaneously look good, do my job, and ask you to pay me the way I deserve to be paid.
Yeah.
They're not, exclusive.
Exactly. It's not 3 categories. It's a whole package of one person.
No, it's a whole package. You're going to pay me this way because I'm good at what I do and I look good. It's like and I present well. I clean up real nicely.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is. It's just all this language that we're given as women. I mean, I find it just even in like styling things. I'm trying so hard to eliminate the word flattering from my vocabulary. Like, oh, this is very flattering. And like, what the hell does flattering mean exactly? Like
that's a judgment.
Exactly. And
judgment.
It's an implication that you have to like show off your figure as a woman. You know what? There are days I want to wear muumuus. I want to be Mrs. Roper 2024 and float around in wafty fucking caftans. And I don't want to show off my waist and I don't want to push up my boobs. I don't want to stuff myself into Spanx. I just want to like exist in a way that feels really comfortable for me. And sometimes I like to throw on a really, sexy dress. And other days I want to look like I'm wearing a potato sack. And I'm cool with all the versions of me. But invariably I'll get some woman in the comments like, oh, that does nothing for your figure. I know. I'm not trying to
like who asked you
for my figure. Right.
Who asked you?
So much, I don't even get so much hung up on like who asked you, but even though there are moments I have that, like my Jersey girl comes out like, girl, I didn't ask. But at the same time, I'm like, but again, that's the messaging we're getting as women is that we are for public consumption. And, it's my job to show off my figure. If, if I had your figure, I would XXX. Well, it's right. It's not our job to just dress for the masses. It's our job to dress for ourselves and what makes us feel good and sexy and whatever we want to feel that day, comfortable. And this rewiring of even my own brain over time of what will people think? What will, will they find this sexy? Will the men think that I'm attractive if I cut all my hair off? Will it, just all that wiring all that wiring we get as women that our worth is we have to be externally validated in order to feel worthy or attractive or desirable
or even exist.
And I just, I just have been rebelling against that, especially as I've gotten into my 50s.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're so glad that you did. We are. We're so glad because, I mean, when I look at your comments on Instagram, such a joyous group of people that you've rallied behind you.
Yeah. Yeah. My community is just amazing. I don't like the word followers. They are my community. They have shown up, in ways that have been very uplifting when I needed it. I've gone through some personal things over the last few years that I've shared openly. Death of a friend, loss of a 13-year relationship, all of these things. And to have these people just check on me and message me and send me things and uplift me. It just, that is not a follower. That is a friend, a community, a tribe, a village. And that's, that's my village. They're amazing.
Yeah. But your village is in the image of what you put out there,
Thanks.
Because, I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but I guess I found you maybe like a year and a half, 2 years ago. But I think at some point I just messaged you because I was like, I need to talk to her. And you messaged back. I was like, she messaged back. I'm like, oh, okay. There's an actual caring human on the other end of this wonderful Instagram account, which was, of course, that made me feel really good. And that also is the reason why I went ahead and to shoot my shot and ask you if you would be on the show. And you so gracefully accepted, which I do appreciate.
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about your journey as a content creator, because the word content creator now is being thrown around. But when I think of content creator, before I think of content, I think of creator. And that's also the reason why I wanted you on the show, because to me, there is a creative aspect about it that I think people overlook. I think a lot of times people just think content. but there's a creative aspect because you're trying to make sure that things look a very certain way, a particular way for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want to know how you got into all of that.
Oh, I mean, I think it just, I wanted to create content that resonated with people, whether it just made them laugh or it made them think or it made them feel something or inspired them to be different, bigger, bolder, whatever. Um, I would love to tell you that I'm someone who maps out my shots and does all of that. It's really not that deep for me. Sometimes I just throw on the camera and I hit record and whatever happens, happens. My lives are that way. I'm on there for an hour. I have no idea where it's going to go, what I'm going to talk about, what's going to come up in the chat. And, how much of my life I'll divulge. Sometimes I get off the damn lives and I'm like, wow, I talked about stuff I didn't know if I really wanted. Okay, I guess I could put that out in the universe. But I think so much of this creative journey has been a lesson in authenticity. And the more authentic I was, and the more honest I was, and the more vulnerable I was as a creator, the more fierce my following became. The more kind of raving fan, how they showed up in just complete support of who I was. That's the part I think that I did not expect. I think a lot of times as creators, we can get hung up on this perfection and this imposter syndrome. Am I as good as that creator? Am I as good a singer as this person? Am I as good a performer as that person? Do I look good in whatever this one does? Do I emote enough when I sing? Do I, all of those, we can get in our heads about comparing ourselves to others instead of recognizing that we are our own unique niche. And I have these talks sometimes with other creators. I'm like, your niche is you, really. Because there are tons and tons and tons and tons of people who do what I do, create beauty and style content, creators over 50, all of those things, but no one does it quite the way I do. And that's my niche.
By the way, those people follow you because I see them, because I've found some other people like that, because that inspires me. It's something for me to look forward to as I'm going to be 49 and I see all those people that I love. They're also killing it. They all follow you.
Oh, that's nice to hear. Yeah. I mean, I think that's it. It's just that feeling of there's space for all of us, and the tide lifts all boats, that feeling of like, there's enough space for all of us to have a creative journey in this and to present ourselves if we choose to in this way online and to carve out your own path through what you think is a really, thickly, densely populated environment. There's still opportunity to stand out for who you are, what you do, and how you present the stuff that you're interested in.
Okay, cool. So I have a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Are you like a techie? Because I'm wondering about, based on the fact that you said you have a squirrel brain, does that mean you shy away from the techie side, or are you also really good at the techie side, as far as producing your videos and editing?
I would say I'm techie interested. I don't think I'm a techie. I'm like I grew up with a father who was an IT guy. And so he got me always interested in kind of tech. And so it was, get the new phone, what can all the things do? And so I'm not intimidated by tech. And having taught myself Instagram by myself, taught myself editing platforms, taught myself, lighting, and researched how to do different things. And so I'm always interested in that. I think I also, with the creative brain comes that overwhelm of wanting to just get so much curiosity, get all this information. And then you go, oh, like it's too much now. It's too much. It's too many platforms. It's too many things. It's too much this, too much that. And in the beginning, it was, I was filming and sleeping in the same room and just tripping over stuff all the time. And now I finally have like a space that's dedicated just for my quote unquote studio. But it was that feeling of like, I need to embrace this whole technology piece of it because it's super important, but I've had a fancy camera that I've owned for 2 years and I still don't quite know how to use it. And I'm still on my damn iPhone for most of my content because I can't be bothered.
Really?
And, yeah. Oh yeah. And, it just is what it is. I'm like, this is what is the easiest, like the least path of resistance for me to create content, edit it and post it. That's the path I want to be on. And that's And that's where I find myself.
Okay, I'm laughing because I'm exactly in the same boat. A couple years ago, I asked a friend who's really into all that stuff what camera to buy, and I got the camera, and because I was going to do a YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel,
Yeah.
but I abandoned it because it was just the learning curve was just too steep with the camera. So I'm like, anything I do, I'm doing with my iPhone,
Same.
and it'll be what it'll be.
Yep.
Sometimes I go on camera, I'm not made up, and I said, this is what it is today, but this is on my heart. And that's all she wrote.
That's it. That's all you can do.
Now, with all of your success at this point, have you handed off your editing to somebody else now?
No.
You still do all your editing?
Yeah, I'm a one-man band. I answer all the DMs. I do all the editing. I do all my captions. I do all my hashtag research. I do all of my content creation. I do, all of it.
You're scrappy as hell. I love it. Wow.
Thanks.
How do you have time to do all that shit and look
Girl.
so great?
Girl, I think that's the thing. I think that's why I've been so challenged with kind of creating consistently, because there is just so much work. And I think people don't recognize. They think you just throw on a camera and you're on for 5 minutes and you just hit post. And they don't realize that, like, I'll film for 2 hours and then that'll get edited down to a 5-minute video. But that 5-minute video took 2 and 3 hours to edit. And so, like, this little 5-minute piece of content took me 6 hours to make. And it's just that feeling of not really understanding all of the work that goes on behind the scenes to create the content that you're giving them. And, so I definitely have my moments where I just want to, like, can I just have someone follow me around and photograph me and edit this crap and post it, because I'm over it. It's a lot of, and I think it does drain some of those resources from time to time from my creativity, because I've learned over time. I used to make these, 10, 15 minute long videos, and I'd film for hours and hours and hours, an entire Sunday afternoon to make a 10, 15 minute video. And I'm like, you know what? I need to just do one outfit. Like, I don't need to do 25 outfits. Like, I can just do one outfit and each day show them something different. And it's a minute and a half of content that they watch, and it's done. And give myself the grace to be like, you know what? You don't have to give them the whole damn book. You can go chapter by chapter. And I think that me to kind of understand that, like, okay, yes, I know that they love those kind of posts. And when I was locked down, I had nothing else to do but film. Those were really fun things to do. It gave me a whole day to just be creative. But now I'm like, I've got to give them the appetizers. I can't do the full course, seven course meal every time.
Well, and the truth is, people aren't where you are. So if you think of us as being babies, we don't know as much as you know about what you know. So we only really need baby bites anyway.
That's it. It's a great way to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. My next question for you would be, how did you get into coaching? Because I know you're coaching now.
Yeah. So the whole buildup of this community, this village of people that I have on my Instagram and my other platforms, there were some conversations around, do you do individual consultations? Because I do a lot of beauty tutorials, and then I also do a lot of styling things. And so there was a lot of, I wish you could teach me how to do my makeup. I don't know how to do my makeup. I wish you could come in my closet. I wish you could style me. I wish you could, do you do personal shopping with people? Do you? And I thought, you know what, there is a need for that. I felt especially in the beauty part of it, because I feel like, when we were younger, you'd go into a department store and there'd be 3 people at one counter ready to help you. And now you go into a department store and there's 3 people in the whole department in cosmetics, and they're bouncing around all the different brands, and no one's an expert on quite anything. And there's that feeling of overwhelm. I feel like for a lot of people who are wanting to wear makeup and walk into the Sephoras and the Nordstroms and the big department stores of the world and get completely freaked out because they don't know where to begin. They don't know what's good. They don't know if this person who's selling them this $400 cream, if it's really a great cream or if it's just a $400 cream, just that feeling of distrust and really needing a guide. And I thought, you know what, I want to treat this almost like I do beauty concierge kind of services where I get on I do virtual consultations with people. We go through skincare and makeup routines and tools and what do you have? And then I send them links for things I think they could use to supplement their routines. Then we come back and do a one-on-one where I come with no makeup on, they come with no makeup on, and we actually do makeup together on camera so they can see exactly where I'm placing it, how I'm putting it on, all of that. Because I feel like there's that thing of a lot of times we get in the beauty chair in our 20s, we get our first, big job and we want to look professional. And then we keep doing the same techniques, even though our faces have changed, our eye shape has changed, maybe we changed our color of our hair, all of the things have changed over time. And what are some new techniques to keep people looking modern? Not necessarily, I'm not here to try to make someone look younger. I hate using those terms, but how to look modern and fresh.
Bless you.
Thank you. So I think,
You're welcome.
There's that piece of it. And then there's, some styling things I do with people where we go and we just audit their closet and we go, category by category and talk about shapes that work for them and why they work. And so they start to get some language for what should I be looking for when I do go shopping? Do I like more structured jackets? Do I feel better in something with a drop shoulder? Do I need, what neckline is my best neckline? Just all of those things that a lot of times women don't have the language for because they don't realize that they can be a little bit more formulaic in some of the key pieces that they choose and that they add into their wardrobe. So it's giving them those tools to be more informed and to be more secure in walking into a store and beelining for a rack because they see a piece that is cut the way they know other jackets that fit great on them are cut. And just being able to kind of repeat, lather, rinse, and repeat that process when they go out to the stores or when they go online to shop.
See, I already know I need your help because what'd you say, a drop shoulder? I don't even know what the hell that is.
Right.
What is that?
So it's like where there's no shoulder pad. And a lot of times where the seam of like this right here that I'm wearing, where like the seam is not right at the break of the shoulder, it's off the side, like more towards your delt.
Okay.
And where there's no like real shoulder pad, there's no real structure. Where you have like a more squared off shoulder. So, sometimes this shape can be, can make people feel kind of frumpy because there's not structure. And sometimes just adding shoulder pad, some stupid thing, adding a shoulder pad can add some structure, but also add some dimension to the body and balance out proportions and just little tweaks, little teeny things that people don't even realize can make a huge difference. And, once they put something on side by side and they see those different shapes and what it does for their body and how it makes them feel, then they can start to get a feel for like, what is my style vibe? What's my aesthetic? What should I be looking for? Am I more relaxed? Am I more kind of drop shoulder, slouchy, casual? Or do I like more structured, kind of crisper looks that give me more, dimension? Those are the things that we start to kind of pull out in those conversations, which is really fun. It's a fun creative outlet for me too. It's like solving puzzles for people.
Well, I love that. But how did you figure all of that out? Because you didn't go to school for fashion, did you?
No, I mean, I've always been a junkie of all things, beauty, style, that kind of thing. I'm not someone who really follows designers per se. I follow, just the visuals of it, like any creative person, we're drawn to, a lot of times it's the visual, it's the sound, it's the, those creative pieces. So for me, it was always, okay, what about that shape is so unique? Or what is that thing? Why does this jacket, why do I feel like this jacket looks good on me? And then I was started to follow other people too. And I, always read books around the subjects. And so I think, just a working knowledge of, and then too, I worked in retail for years. So you're surrounded by clothes and makeup and fashion and cosmetics and all of those things gives you a good baseline and a good, encyclopedia of terms to pull from to help people see themselves differently. And so in my coaching of, clients now, it's no different than what it was like when I was coaching my teams in stores, when I was working as an account executive in the retail world. It's the same concept. I'm just here trying to hold a mirror up to them to show them what they already have inside of them. And I do the same thing now. I'm holding up mirrors to the women that I work with and showing them like, this is what I see in you. This is, how do we get your confidence back? How do we have these conversations around confidence and you getting it back in a way that feels authentic? And showing them, that they have the power to make these decisions for themselves and to choose joy in the way that they dress and the way they walk through the world.
I really love all of this because what I'm seeing is that someone who is good in their skin and who is really just happy with who they are, they're instrumental in helping other people be happy with who they are and where they are. And the opposite is true. I feel, and then when people who are, struggling to love themselves, they're constantly tearing other people down.
Yeah.
So I love what you're doing because this positivity, it's infectious,
Oh, thanks.
and it's needed. It's needed. The world is hurting
Yeah.
for so many different reasons. I mean, it's hard because I do like social media because sometimes it's entertaining and sometimes it's just like, ugh, this is enough. But
Yeah.
we've got the thing about the woman and the bear and the men, and there's just all these fights going on, and
Yeah.
the world is a little tough place right now. But it seems like you're bringing, with your uni niche, as you call yourself a niche, you're bringing something to this world that we can all sort of enjoy, but take some really good nuggets away from. And I appreciate that. There was something else. You're also coaching on social media, right?
I am. And it's not necessarily coming from a place of like posting schedules and content calendars and that kind of thing, but more about creating an authentic brand and how to show up authentically, how to build a community, how to, foster those relationships. I'm not someone who's ever been about, I want to have 1 million followers. I don't really care about the number of followers. I just care about why they're there and am I providing to them the things that they want to see that make them feel good about themselves. And so, helping people define what their niche is, helping them define who they want to, who is their ideal client, audience, community member, how to show up in ways that are authentic, how to connect genuinely with people, and, tips and tricks around content creation, but from a brand perspective, from a branding perspective, as opposed to just how to make content, when to post, hashtag strategies. That's not, I'm not a social media strategist. I am a branding coach, and the confidence and the authenticity coming from who you are and how do you bring that to the table if you decide to pursue something in social media. And I think that's where I've been successful. I'm not the person to talk to you about being consistent because I'm inconsistent, but I can talk to you about how to build a community of people who will basically die for you.
I love that because that's powerful.
Yeah. I mean, just the way that, I'm certain that there isn't every content creator that has has people just flooding their DMs with little memes and things when they know you're going through a hard time. There's just that feeling of care and love that they reflect back to me. And that part, I think, has been built over time, and it's been built with a very vulnerable approach to my content.
I really love that. The last thing I just wanted to ask you about is what's next for Jen? Are there any things that you've got coming up that you can talk about?
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited. I'm in talks right now to do a confidence conference, be a speaker at a confidence conference in Denver. It'll be a 3-day women's confidence conference the last weekend of July. So I'm excited about that. I think that's going to be really fun. I'm really hoping to take this further into more public speaking. It's something I really love to do. And so I have that going on. I'm teaching a workshop with some image consultants in Florida in June on this whole concept of showing up authentically, how to build your brand, little tips and tricks to maximize your profile and get found and work with brands and that kind of thing. And I've had a few different speaking engagements this year, some smaller venues that have been really wonderful. So I'm excited about that aspect. I really enjoy, and I feel like it's a strength for me where I can just be in a room full of people and I'm quick on my feet in my speaking ability, and just to be able to engage authentically with people. I think the biggest struggle I've had in this kind of creator landscape is I don't ever want to feel like I'm faking it. And sometimes I go to events and I feel people who are just constantly like looking for the camera, and I'm here to just connect with people. I really want to meet them and just have an authentic connection with someone. And I'm a terrible influencer. I told this last group I was with, I'm like, I'm a shitty influencer. Half the time I don't remember my tripod. I don't remember my light. I forget to film myself walking into the place that I'm supposed to be talking about. I'm terrible because I've always tried to be present. And so in trying to be present, a lot of times it means you don't have your phone out. And so there's just that thing of this constant balance of I can still be creative, but not sacrifice my soul and my desire to truly connect with people while I do it. And so that part's been fun.
And I think you're doing a fabulous job. It's kind of interesting to be on social media, which is there's a fakeness to it anyway, because we can't really touch it, and yet you just shine through so clear and I wouldn't say clean because you a Jersey girl.
Yeah, right. I'm
you know
what
dirty. I mean. But you're dirty in the right way.
Yeah.
You're dirty in the way that we can get down with. You know what I mean? Like if I haven't been in Jersey for many, many years, but it's like if I came home, I would like want to pick up the phone and say, Jen, let's go out and have a drink. You're that kind of person. So you elicit this response that we want to get to know you. Like that's the tribe that you've built. And so you can be very proud of that because it all really is in your image. As I wrap this up, did I remember that you have a little gift for us, for the listeners?
Yes. So you can book consultations with me at my website, which is Glossed World, GLOSSED, glossedworld.com. And a single session, I am giving your community a $50 off, a single session.
Ooh, child.
They just need to email me at Jen, Jen, at glossedworld.com. And I can always send them a link with a date and the reduced price so that they can get their first 1 hour session with me at 50% off or at $50 off.
Yeah, that is, $50, not 50%.
Yeah,
people got to eat.
$50 off.
But listen, that is so, so kind of you. We appreciate you. And I can't wait to, I got one last question.
Ask them.
Are you dating?
I am dating. Yeah, it's been a wild ride. My marriage came to an end in the spring of last year. So it's about a year out from all of that. And I started dating in the fall and putting myself out there. And, I've met some really interesting people and I've had some, little mini, few months here, few months there. And, I mean, I'm trying to stay wide open to it because I think there is this notion when you get your heart broken that you kind of wall up and you make other people prove it to you before you allow yourself to open up again. And I'm trying to counterbalance that with an approach that is very honest and genuine about what I'm looking for. And I think honestly, what it helps me do is it helps me filter out the people who aren't really looking what I'm looking for quicker.
Yeah.
I think if I'm, if I'm less authentic, it goes right back to authenticity. If I'm less authentic and I'm just showing up as like, oh, I'm a cool girl and I don't really care and it's okay. We can, see each other. That's not me. I'm like, I love big. I am big. I'm all the things. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to show up to my dates in my flashy clothes. I'm going to post pictures of myself in my profile and my crazy earrings. Like, this is who I am. And if you look at me and you're like, she looks like a clown, I'm going to be embarrassed to be around her. Cool. Then don't be around me. And I want to filter out all that BS now because I'm like, I'm not here for, I think there's this urgency that I feel now in my 50s to create really well cultivated relationships, friendships or otherwise.
Yeah.
And I don't have time for just kind of playing around and seeing if it's going to be something. I'm not trying to get into a relationship tomorrow, but I definitely am more honest about what I'm looking for. And it helps to weed out the people who are just here kind of playing. And I'm just not, ultimately that's not what I'm looking for. So yeah, it's been fun. We'll see.
Well, I love that. And I know that there's somebody out there for you. There's somebody that can deal with, and I say deal with in that way because I don't really have another word to say that today, but that's on the same page where that's not an issue.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, baby, boo, do you.
Yeah.
Do you. Like, really, like when you do you, that's exactly what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Don't hold anything back. Yeah. I love that.
Someday.
Well, listen, someday when that person's ready for you.
That's it.
All right.
That's it for sure.
I really appreciate you for coming on and spending some time with me. I've put all of the information in the show notes, how everybody can get in touch with you through your multiple platforms. I really don't know how you do it all, but you're a badass. What can I say? You're a scrappy Jersey girl.
That's what's up.
I wish you all the best. And, I'll be looking at you on Instagram. Take care of yourself, Jen.
Thanks, Monique. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Don't you just love Jen? I mean, she's just so down to earth and just so easygoing. She makes you feel so comfortable being you. I think my key takeaway from this episode is just that she said it this way: you are your own niche. Niche is a word that's been thrown around internet, especially if you're trying to build a channel. One of the first things they tell you is to niche down, choose your niche. But she's saying you're your own niche, which means that even though other people are doing some of the things that you're doing, they're not doing it the way you're doing. So you're your own niche. And the only way you're going to find your own niche is to be authentic. And speaking of authenticity, I'm looking for 10 people who need personalized coaching in order to let their authentic vocal abilities shine through. If you're serious about singing, you're easy to work with, you have 2 to 3 goals that require more than an hour lesson, and you want to make progress fast, send an email with the word VIP to info@moniquebthomas.com. That's info@moniquebthomas.com. Well, there you have it. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I know that Jen Polt is not a typical type of guest for my podcast, but I wanted you to see that creatives in other fields deal with the same struggles that we have in singing, and I wanted you to see how she deals with it. Authenticity, baby. So I really do hope you've enjoyed this episode 26. And if you have, please give me some love. And wherever you're listening to this, please leave a review, a positive review. That would help. And don't forget to check out the show notes so you can see everything that is Jen Polt. Musically, Monique.